What if the only way to defeat the most powerful man alive was destruction? Not his destruction, your own, your capital, your palaces, your entire ancient city. In 1812, one ruler made exactly that impossible, terrifying, almost unthinkable choice. He let his enemy capture everything, then burned it into ash beneath him. His name was Alexander I, and his enemy was Napoleon Bonaparte himself. But here's the twist historians still argue about. 2 centuries later, unresolved. Nobody knows, even today, who actually lit the very first flame. Was it the Tsar's own order, or something far stranger, far more accidental? By 1812, Napoleon controlled nearly all of Europe. Feared by every crowned king, he had crushed Austria, humiliated Prussia, and forced treaties onto broken nations. Only one power still refused to fully bow beneath his growing empire. Russia had quietly pulled away from Napoleon's trade system, and he noticed immediately. Furious, Napoleon decided to teach Russia a lesson it would never forget. In June 1812, he assembled the largest invasion force Europe had ever witnessed. Over 400,000 soldiers crossed the Niemen River into Russian territory. Napoleon expected a quick, crushing victory, just like every campaign before it. Instead, he found something far more unsettling than any army: complete silence. Russian forces refused to fight him directly, retreating deeper into their own land. Behind them, they burned crops, villages, and supplies before Napoleon could seize them. This strategy had a name: scorched earth, and it was only the beginning. Napoleon's massive army began starving long before it ever reached a battlefield. Still, he pushed forward, convinced one final battle would force total surrender. On September 7th, near a village called Borodino, that battle finally happened. It became one of history's bloodiest single days, tens of thousands dying. Yet when the smoke cleared, no one could truly claim complete victory. Russian commander Kutuzov made a decision that stunned his own furious officers. He would abandon Moscow entirely, without firing another single defensive shot. His generals called it cowardice, treason, an unforgivable betrayal of the motherland. But Kutuzov understood something Napoleon never once managed to fully grasp. A captured city could be rebuilt. A destroyed army could never be replaced. On September 14th, Russian troops and over 200,000 civilians vanished. They abandoned Moscow entirely, leaving behind an empty, eerily silent, waiting city. Napoleon expected trembling nobles offering him keys and desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, his soldiers marched into streets with absolutely no one left standing. Clocks were still ticking inside homes, as if owners had just left. Something about that silence unsettled even Napoleon's most battle-hardened, fearless commanders. Meanwhile, Moscow's governor, Count Fyodor Rostophin, had already made a chilling decision. He ordered every fire engine in the city dismantled or destroyed completely. Flammable materials were secretly placed inside warehouses, bridges, and government buildings. Whether by his direct order or not, Moscow was now a trap. Napoleon settled comfortably into the Kremlin, confident peace talks would begin soon. He had absolutely no idea the city itself was about to attack. Just after midnight, the first strange fires began appearing across separate districts. At first, his officers dismissed them as accidents from careless, exhausted soldiers. But more fires kept appearing, spreading faster than anyone could ever explain. French soldiers caught Russian men carrying hidden fuses and flammable bottled liquids. Under brutal interrogation, several confessed to following direct orders from someone powerful. They named Governor Rostophin, though he would later deny everything, repeatedly, publicly. Strong winds arrived that night, turning scattered sparks into an unstoppable inferno. Wooden Moscow, home to thousands of buildings, became instant fuel for flames. Napoleon himself was suddenly forced to flee his own captured, burning headquarters. He escaped through smoke-filled streets, narrowly avoiding being trapped and asphyxiated completely. For 5 terrifying days, from September 14th through the 18th, Moscow burned. Nobody could stop it. Nobody could contain it. Nobody could fully explain it. When the smoke finally cleared, 3/4 of the entire city was gone. Nearly 8,000 shops and warehouses had disappeared into smoking, blackened ruins. Centuries of art, manuscripts, and irreplaceable Russian history turned into scattered ash. Napoleon wrote directly to Alexander, demanding answers to one furious, desperate question. How could any ruler destroy something that took hundreds of years to build? But Alexander refused to respond, refused to negotiate, refused to even acknowledge him. He had reportedly vowed he would retreat to Siberia before bowing to Napoleon. Napoleon waited inside the smoking ruins for over a month, hoping desperately for peace. Every single wasted day pushed his massive army closer to a merciless winter. There was no shelter left standing, no food stored, no supplies remaining anywhere. The scorched earth strategy had worked exactly as Russian commanders originally planned it. Finally, on October 19th, Napoleon gave the order every soldier secretly feared: retreat. But retreat through land his own army had already completely destroyed. There was nothing left to loot, nothing left to eat, nowhere to shelter. Russian winter arrived brutally early, freezing exhausted soldiers exactly where they stood. Cossack raiders attacked constantly, striking suddenly, then vanishing back into the snow. At the Borodino River, desperate French engineers built makeshift bridges under heavy fire. Thousands drowned, froze, or were abandoned when those same bridges finally burned. Of nearly 500,000 men who invaded, most would never return home. Fewer than 120,000 soldiers ever crossed back across the frontier. Napoleon quietly abandoned his dying army and raced back to Paris alone. The empire that once terrified all of Europe had been broken by fire. So who truly started the flames that destroyed one of history's great capitals? Historians have argued for 2 centuries, and no single answer satisfies everyone. Some blame Rostovin's secret orders. Others blame chaos, looting, or pure accident. Captured Russians confessed under torture, yet Rostovin himself denied it until death. Perhaps the truth is something far messier. Multiple fires, multiple causes, one outcome. What remains absolutely certain is exactly what those flames cost Napoleon's empire. Alexander lost his ancient capital, yet somehow never lost his empire's survival. By burning Moscow, Russia denied Napoleon shelter, supplies, and desperately needed victory. The fire that should have symbolized total defeat instead became silent resistance. Within 2 years, European powers united and finally forced Napoleon from power. The invasion meant to crush Russia instead helped destroy Napoleon's entire empire. Moscow was eventually rebuilt, grander and stronger than it had ever been. Sometimes history's greatest victories arrive disguised as unbearable, devastating, impossible losses. The king who let his kingdom burn watched his enemy's whole empire fall.